Hello friends, it's David here, and I just wanted to do a quick little update video. So in front of you here you will see three books. Recently had an interlibrary loan search go in for these books. These were ones that I'd identified on the On Military Matters website as books that I was interested in. Unfortunately, the response came back. I didn't search for this one. I'll explain this in a moment, but the result came back that they just simply were not available. So basically none of the books I had requested, which were Crimean War related, were available via interlibrary loan. I think one of them came back as found in New Zealand, but they aren't prepared to ship it across the ocean. So the library didn't help me in that case, which is fine. I mean, I've said in the past that I try to use my library when possible because it's a wonderful public institution that's already paid for. But I've also said in the past that in the case of smaller publishers or books with a limited run, or if something's simply not available, that I'm very much prepared to spend money. So in this case I spent $10 a piece on these slender little volumes. These are Crimean War Basics, Organization and Uniforms, Britain, France, Sardinia, and then the Russia and Turkey volume by Michael Cox and John Lenton. Now they are rather expensive at $10 a piece, but sorry if you hear little tippy taps, that's my dog. She's just demanding petting today, so I've been away for 2 weeks, so she's kind of enjoying some dad time really. These are from Partisan Press, publishers Mark there, and very much a sort of product of their time. I'll see if I can zoom you in, but this is if you look at the way that it's typeset, I love this old font. It's sort of a very sort of typewriter-esque font, which suits my eye, I think, but very much harkens back to an older time. And what's interesting here is the authors have very clearly stated that their goal isn't to provide you with an exhaustive account or breakdown of what happened, but rather a sort of a précis of the requisite topics of the Russians and the Turks in this case. So you can see here, I'll try and zoom it in some. I'm trying to do this one-handed because I have this very demanding dog clambering on me. Yes, I know, I love you too. Right, so here is a slightly closer look at the contents. There are 38 pages in this little booklet, which is not a lot. So for $10 it is rather expensive. But, again, what's nice about this is it's a cool little sort of a memoir for what I'm looking for. So provides you with basic organization of what the Russian army, how it was organized. So things like which matter to wargamers, such as how many companies were there in a battalion, and how many battalions are there in a regiment, and how many regiments were then folded into brigades, and how many brigades then folded into divisions, and how many divisions folded into corps, and that sort of thing, and how the army was commanded and controlled, and so on. And the Russian piece in particular is quite extensive, obviously because they're one of the main belligerents of the war. So there's some orders of battle which are quite handy for some of the main battles, such as Alma, Balaclava, Inkerman, and then the Chernaya River, which is quite a nice one. I'm quite interested in personally. And then it provides you with uniform, Russian cavalry uniform and Russian infantry uniforms. Which I just absolutely love. I mean, this is just, very much a product of a simpler time, shall we say. Then there's the Turkish army, which provides you with, again, the army organization, the strengths, the rank structure, and then the uniforms. It doesn't provide much detail on the orders of battle or anything, because the Turkish contribution in the actual Crimea itself was relatively minor comparative to its contribution in, say, like the Balkans, where it fought quite successfully against the Russians, actually. So that's the first volume, and then there's the British, French and Sardinian armies covered in this one. And again, it's much the same. You're looking at, I will just show you the contents here, which are, again, this is slightly bigger at 44 pages, and it's the British Army. Again, similar thing, gives you some of the main orders of battle. Gives a bit of detail on the uniforms. The uniform sections are actually quite rudimentary, which is fine because, again, that's where sort of Osprey shines, right? So, but it is nice to sort of get it in a very distilled format, so that you're not digging around too much. Then there's the French army, and then there's the again with the Chernaya order of battle, and then there's a Sardinian army, which is something that I've been struggling to find sources for. So or sources, information on. So that's quite handy. So that's $20 spent, and then I've spent another $10 I think on this one, which is the Highland Brigade in the Crimea by Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Sterling. This was purely an impulse purchase. It was on sale, and no regrets. So these are actually the letters that Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Sterling wrote back home during the war. And what's really nice is I've had a flick through it. They're just listed by letter and then date and where they are, but there's these lovely maps that accompany some of the pages, which are just fantastic. I mean, that is really nice, right? Look at that, it's Camp Aladine, and it's the dates that he's there. Here's some more lovely topographical drawings. I mean, these are just fantastic, right? So yeah, there's a lot of letters in here. I haven't started reading it yet. I'm currently finishing off a Witcher novel, so I'm going to finish that first. Again, another library borrow. When I finish that, then I will have a look at this. So that is the first purchase, which was done last week. Last week I was in Texas for Orthodox Easter. My family is Orthodox, so we celebrate our Easter at a slightly different time to the West, sometimes, depending on how the calendar shakes out. So we were in Dallas, and I've come back with a slight sort of head cold because of some very heavy rain that happened while we were out there. I mean, it was absolutely, the stock is tippy-tapping everywhere. It was really slamming it down there. It was massive thunderstorms. The roads were flooded. It was biblical. So we had a really good Easter week. I was also there for work as well, so it was just kind of a happy coincidence that I happened to be in Dallas at the time with where my wife's family lives. So I was able to see the family and then my brother as well on the weekend. So it was very nice. But I ordered the books while I was away because I knew it was something I wanted to start. I mean, I had done my library request. They told me they weren't available, and then I spoke to the wife and I said, "Hey, listen, do you mind if I buy these books?" And she said, "Yes." And I took the the nod from the Mem Sahib immediately. I didn't even ask a second time, "Are you sure?" or anything like that. I just went for it. So that was last week, and the week before that, I had actually been to Singapore very briefly. It was a turn and burn type thing, so I left the house at Sunday night or Monday morning at 1 a.m. Flew to Singapore via Hong Kong. I landed in Singapore Tuesday afternoon because you lose time going that way. You skip a day basically. I was in Singapore for a day, and then the next morning I landed in the afternoon, spent a day in Singapore the following day, and then flew back the next morning directly to Vancouver in Canada, and then crossed back into the US. So I was gone on Sunday night from my house and back on Thursday morning. Needless to say, my jet lag is through the roof. And I haven't really had a chance to reset it. Right, so on the weekend between Singapore and Texas, myself and a few two clubmates, went down to the Kamano Island Wargamers convention called Conflict. It was held in a little community centre there. So we, I'd suggested to the club in Canada that we load up and go down, and I'd offer to drive everyone. So I left my house in the US, swung around the bay, and then stopped by in White Rock to pick up two more club members, and we took down a bunch of miniatures, some terrain, and we put on the Battle of Chaplain Hill, which was fought in Kentucky rather, in 1862. So it's with a rule set called Battles Between the States, which hasn't been released yet, but it's been written by a club member, and so we went and put the game on. It was good. I believe the Confederacy won resoundingly, largely due to dice luck. But I managed to play another game called Shattered Sector, which was interesting. It's a sci-fi type game because we were there were three of us, and we only really needed two people to run the game. So my club member suggested that I go and play something to meet people and that sort of thing. So we did that. So yeah, while I was there was a little shop set up. A local store was selling stuff, and I bought some things. I know I've said in the past that I'm trying not to buy stuff, but I can't help myself. Sometimes it's just, you get a good deal and you get a good deal, right? So first of all, I got this Hobbit strategy battle game figure. This is Fimble the Hunter mounted on foot. It's fine cast, which I'm not usually a fan of, but I did look at it and it looks fine. So I got this. Now this normally retails for $40 when it was sold. I'm imagining it's not sold anymore. I got this for, well, I don't know how much I got it for. I'll show you everything I got in a minute. I'll tell you the price, right? So I got that. So those are usually quite dear. So I was quite happy with that purchase. It's not that I'm a huge Lord of the Rings player, but I do like the figures, and I do have some of it. Next I got some Renegade. These are out of production. Some Renegade Spanish. These look like Scutarii. So I got some of these because, you know, if you collect ancient armies, you can never go wrong with some Spanish for your mercenary types, right? Some Iberians. So I got one pack of those. Then I got another pack of Renegade. These are some Numidian horse. Well, they're Libyan horse, but they're Numidians. These are in breastplate, so they're sort of like a command pack, which I can definitely use. Again, Numidians fought for basically everybody for a very long period of time, so fought with and against everybody, so that's good. I got some Spanish Ketrati with spear, so these are the sort of skirmish types with the little bucklers. These are Crusader figures, which I really, really like. So I got these. So again, you can see there's a trend developing here. We're seeing North Africa, Iberian Peninsula, Spanish Ketrati Command. So I got those. Then we got some Armored Thracian Cavalry Command, right? And again, I'll explain why I picked this up in a moment. That's again Crusader miniatures, something I really, really like, right? And then I got some more Ketrati with spear, so it's the same pack as the other one I just showed you, so they will just stack them on each other. And then I got another pack of the Libyan Command on horse from Renegade. Basically, if it was Renegade, I took it. If it was Crusader, I took it. Then I got some Copleston High Adventure. These are Turkish World War I officers. Really lovely, characterful figures. I do have a small group of Turks in World War I Turks, so I thought this would be a good addition to those. Those are from Gripping Beast, I believe, the Woodbine figures. I don't know if they'll scale correctly, but don't really care since these are command figures, so they'll be big men, right, and that kind of thing. So one of my club mates is really into World War I Mesopotamia, and he was asking me the other day about my Turks. I said, hey, can you get them painted so we can put on a sort of World War I skirmish, like a large skirmish game? So that'll be fun. So I figured I might as well pick them up since they were there. Again, some more Renegade. These are Numidian archers, so handy for skirmish type elements and that sort of thing. And again, because Renegade are out of print, or just not available anymore, you know, when you see things like this, you just snap it up. You know, you don't even think about it. And then finally, another pack of these are not Citrati, these are actually Scutarii from Spanish figures, but they've got the larger shield, so these are the more formed infantry types. So there you go. So now you might wonder, well, this is an eclectic purchase. You weren't really looking for Spanish. Why did you buy all this stuff? I got all of this, every single piece here that you see, for $40 US. All right, which is a great deal. I spoke to the owner of the stand. He was trying to get rid of the stuff. I don't know what his urgency was. He didn't explain why. He just basically said it needs to go, so it was in a bargain bin. So he said it was $2 per figure. I asked him, well, how much for cavalry? And he said cavalry is a figure, so $2 for cavalry. So obviously I hoovered up all the cavalry, hence the Thracian cavalry, which again I will use. Again, mercenary types and a Hellenistic army, that kind of thing. And then I was delving through this box, and I found all the pieces I wanted, and I created this pile. And I turned to him and I said, right, I don't know how much is in each of these packs, so how much is this all going to cost me? And he said, oh, we'll have to take a look. And I said, well, I've got $40 cash, that's it. Do you take card? And he said, no, I don't take card. But he looked at the pile, he looked at me, and he said, give me $40 and you can take the lot. So I did. So great deal, because looking at this pack right here, at $2 a figure for eight miniatures, that's $16 already, right? So that's half my spending power pretty much gone. So I got a lot more than my money's worth. This is why I buy at conventions typically, rather than ordering online, right? Unless it's a sale or something. But you sometimes get really lucky, and in this case I was incredibly lucky. So I'm a happy bunny. I got some interesting figures that I'm going to look forward to painting over time. They go into the lead mountain. You might say, why are you buying more stuff? You have things to paint already. I very much subscribe to the Ralph Astley school of buy it while you can, because you never know when it's going to disappear. This Renegade stuff is a good example. Many years ago, I looked at the Renegade figures, especially their World War I German range. I really, really, really liked it. And I still remember telling myself, oh, that's cool. I don't have to buy it right now. They're not going anywhere. I'll just pick them up whenever I get a gap, you know? And I just kept delaying it and delaying it and delaying it. And then one day, Renegade were just gone. So, don't do what I did, just buy the figures. And with that said, if you like Aventine Miniatures, they're going out of business next September, so September 2025. People have been going nuts and putting their orders in. The guys who run the business are panicking and are saying, hey, everyone slow down, because they gave us all fair warning. Well, everyone's panicking and panic buying. The thing is, they're really nice miniatures, and there's no guarantee that anyone will pick up the range and then B, actually make them available for sale. Or that there might be a big delay between them being sold and then being relaunched by whoever buys them. So with that said, then I don't blame people for going nuts and buying what they can right now. I'm looking myself at exactly what I need from them, from Aventine Miniatures, and I will buy stuff. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind. So yeah, so I made a few more purchases than I had anticipated this month, largely because they were targets of opportunity. So yeah, zero regrets, just to be clear. I mean, when somebody offers you all of this for $40, you just take it, right? So that's that. So it's been a rough 2 weeks. I haven't got a ton of painting done, but what I will say is, on the painting desk right now, there's a fair few things that are just kind of in the final stages. So those cataphracts you saw a while back, those Seleucid cataphracts, those are coming close to completion. I managed to find an Old Glory to stand in, so I'm just painting the horse at the moment for that. And then the actual rider as well. It's quite tedious because well, I hate painting horses, as I've said before. And it's just one horse. It's not like I'm doing 10, right? If I'm doing 10, I can just like slap paint on the whole lot and just do them in kind of serial fashion like that, production line fashion. But in this case, it's been a bit tedious. And then I'm doing the basing as well. But you'll see them when the basing is done, and I've got to put these spears on and all kinds of things. So it's I'm in the boring part now, right? That's the worst part for me, is doing things like painting the spears and gluing them into the hands and that kind of thing. There's also some 7 Years War skirmishes that I've almost finished at this point. You'll see those again when they're based and everything. They just need to be based up at this point, but the uniforms are done. And then I also have some Normans that I just fished out from the pile. Here's an unpainted one, because I had a kind of odd, weird number for some reason. They won't be individually based. This is just how they were based like a long, long time ago when I was still individually basing figures. They're new line Norman foot with like, they got padded armor, and some of them have got chainmail, and they are armed with either axes or spears, and then there's a few with swords. They're typical for new line. They're quite static, which is fine, right? I don't mind that about new line so much. Some people can't stand it, but I think they make really good rank and file. They're not too animated. They tend to rank up easily because they are in kind of reasonable poses. And what I mean by that is not flapping their arms everywhere, so they do tend to rank up nicely. The figures themselves are quite simple. They've got this large surface area which is easy to paint. In the case of the padded quilted armor, it's just a case of give it a dark tone and then a dry brush to give it a bit of definition. And then you're picking out things like the trouser legs, the shoes, the scabbard and sword details, the sleeves, this kind of hood thing, which I'm not quite sure what colours to paint those. I've seen different artists' renditions. Some of them are very plain and others make them colourful. And then of course the helmets, and some helmets look painted and others are just metallic. So I'll probably do a variation of that. And then what I'll do is I'll base them up on elements. I did do an initial count, and I came to a really odd number, something like 21 figures, which was bizarre, 21 including the command. But I think I bought them in a bag of 24, so that I think I then found some more loose lying around somewhere else. I'm really poorly organized here, so, well, not really, it's just more a case of stuff that kind of gets jumbled when you move it around, right? So I've got these Normans, the painted ones are almost done. I've done 4 sets of 4, so 16 figures. Haven't quite decided how I'll base them yet. I'll probably do them 8 or 9 to a base, depending on what their rating is in ADLG. I think I'll use that as the guidance there. But I'll do them a 60 by 60 basis, since that's kind of what I like, and it works on most systems. So yeah, that's it really. Been a very productive month, despite being away for a fair bit. I've actually got a lot of painting done. You don't see it in front of you right now, because that's not what this video is really about. It's currently the beginning of May, so I'm hoping that as things get painted and based and glued to the bases and all that jazz, you will start seeing some little shorter videos where I kind of show you what I've done. Oh, and now I want to have a little bit of a natter, so please forgive me. I will leave you staring at this pile of swag that I have here. I just wanted to answer, or not answer, but I wanted to sort of add my voice to to Ralph's last set of videos. So he did a May the 4th paint along video, followed by a video follow up on that video, and then a video on his Mughal stuff that he'd painted. First of all, the Mughal stuff looks fantastic, and agreed. The color is just great. It looks really awesome. So that's awesome, and I'm always happy to see that. I enjoy those videos where Ralph just randomly paints something and then talks about it for 8 to 10 minutes. You know, it's fantastic videos, and that kind of leans into why I do YouTube and who I watch on YouTube. So I am very particular about who I follow on YouTube. Back in the day, I used to just subscribe to channels because, you know, that was the thing. So as Ralph has said, there seemed like almost an economy of subscription, right? If somebody subscribes to you, you feel that you're almost obliged to subscribe to them. But I also realized that very quickly, there were just channels that I was subscribed to that even if they released a video, I would just never watch what they made. I mean, let's be honest. Like, and we all have channels like that, right? We subscribe to them because we saw one video, and then you see the rest of their stuff, and it's just rubbish, right? So I've become kind of like quite critical in how I follow or don't follow channels. And the channels I tend to follow are ones like Ralph's, which are very community focused. Von Ketteringham is another good example, actually, where somebody who's making videos that they feel like fireside chats with a mate rather than being like videos that are very clearly trying to generate interest or chase the algorithm or engage viewers or any of that kind of buzzword nonsense. I just want to see what my friends, and I'm going to use that term, my wargaming friends online, not even wargaming friends necessarily, but what let's use as an example, what my wargaming friends are painting online, and it's a sort of show and tell, and I want to hear them talk about it. I find it inspiring. I also find it, weirdly enough, even though I've never met Ralph in person, I am actually interested in what he gets up to day to day. And there's a real sense of community that's developed around those channels where people interact with each other in meaningful fashions. And I share the disdain that Ralph has for the sort of noise-making comment that people leave on videos, like nice vid mate or well painted or great job or something like that. I understand that for some people that's just a sort of signal to say, you know, I enjoyed your video, thank you very much, and that's fine. I just don't necessarily feel that I can respond to that. So if I don't respond to that kind of comments, it's not that I don't appreciate the thought, I really do, but I can't really engage with it. There's nothing to engage with, right? You've said you've liked the thing, great. I mean, I can say thank you for liking it, but that seems kind of redundant, right? Those comments are less meaningful to me. What is meaningful to me is the one or two people who tend to make a comment and say something that's shows that they've really they've really watched the video. They also have some thoughts on the topic, and it won't be that the people that watch your video always have something meaningful to say. You know, I might do a video on sci-fi, and maybe one of my people who comments normally just has nothing to say about sci-fi, so they don't say anything. I don't feel offended by that. But the channels I watch are for the social and the community reasons, and then also the reason I make videos are for the social and the community elements, and it's a sort of record, a sort of res gestae of what I've done and why I've done it, right? So it's a record for me personally, right? I don't get a lot of views on my videos. I don't really care. I have a full-time job. I have absolutely no aspirations to make this my full-time job. This is part of my hobby, right? I make videos to show people what I'm up to, and also for me to sort of act as like a record of the things that I have achieved or not achieved over time, as the case may be. And so I think one of the things Ralph has been talking about is about the idea that channels of a certain size sort of outgrow that community-based that interactive element. And I think that's sort of true and it's not true. I think what happens oftentimes is the person creating the videos has a decision to make once they reach a sort of critical mass, usually probably around 2,000 views. Basically, once you can start 2,000 subscribers, sorry. I think it's typically at the point where you can probably monetize your channel, right? A decision has to be made. Do you just keep doing what you're doing because you enjoy it, or do you decide that you somehow want to grow this? And then this is where you end up with channels which gain a sort of momentum and grow, and that's typically when you start seeing things like Patreons and memberships and all kind of nonsense coming to the fore. And the problem is that if you decide that you are going to go down that road of, you know, making more out of your video hobby than just a means of communicating with your mates online, you become beholden to YouTube, right? And the only way that you can stay relevant in that space, because you've basically made a pact now that you're going to do this for money, is to keep producing videos, and they have to get views. That is an absolute necessity. Like, if they don't get views, there's no point making the video. If the algorithm doesn't like the video you make, you've wasted your time, and you're not going to get the necessary hits or views or whatever to make it worth your time. So I was looking back over my own channel from the very beginning, and at the very, very start, I made my videos were basically like unboxings. Now, you might say, why were you doing unboxings? Well, the unboxings weren't so that I would get views. It was just, for me, what I found really frustrating was when you wanted to buy something, there would be some photos on the website, but I could never zoom in close enough and get a real description of what was on the sprue or whatever. At the time, I was heavily into Warhammer 40,000. So I would buy these little like resin sprues or whatever of like upgrade kits or things for like Dark Angels or Iron Hands or whatever, and I would make a video of unboxing it and looking in detail at each piece on the sprue and talking about it, right? And the funny thing was, these videos, I mean, I made them almost 10 years ago at this point, so they've got like thousands of views at this point, but at the time they didn't exactly explode, right? But the interesting thing was I got a lot of interaction on those, because people were, you know, obviously there was a market for a video like that. People were looking at them because, much like me, they wanted to know what it really looked like or what you could do with the pieces on the sprue, because you're spending $50 or £50 or whatever it is on a tiny little sprue from Games Workshop. You kind of want to make sure you get it right the first time around, right? So there was definitely a need there. Now, I had no pretensions that I was going to make money off that, just to be clear. It was just a sort of almost like a public service type thing. I just felt, well, you know, somebody else might find it useful. The thing that made me stop doing that, all right, I'll be very honest about it. The thing that made me stop doing that was the fact that there were comments that came in, and it was specifically on the Perry French box. I did a video and it got a lot of views. And just to be clear, I mean, I'm just a guy. This is way back before I had a camera and a tripod, right? This is just a guy with a phone in his hand filming to try and show you what's on a sprue. Okay, the focus is in and out, the lighting is terrible. You know, I don't know anything about making videos. I'm not a video maker for a living. I'm just some guy with a phone, right? And I make this video and it's low quality, the light's terrible, the focus keeps pulling away, I'm moving around way too quickly, you know. I'm not making the video with the viewer in mind, okay? Just to be clear. And there's these nasty comments on there of like, there was one person, I think I deleted their comments eventually because I just felt they were so nasty, but it was the same person commented on the video twice. The first time he was like, for God's sake, man, keep the bloody camera still, and he's having this massive go at me. And then the second comment was something like, oh, you move the camera way too quickly, like I'm not even done looking and then you've moved it on again. And I'm like, and again, I'm thinking to myself, I mean, look, beggars can't be choosers, but if it's that if it's that important to you, if my video is the only source for you to see what's inside the box and it's not good enough, you know what, just buy the bloody box, $20. You know what, I'll buy you the damn box if it's upsetting you that much. And my experience from there made it such that I really did not want to do that anymore. I almost didn't want a lot of views, right? Because the problem is the more views you get, the more inane comments you get. That's one thing. The second thing is the more nonsense you get on in your comments, right? And then also the more views you get, you typically get a lot more negative feedback. So to give you an example, I did a review of an unboxing and a review of the Polish and greatcoats from Warlord Games. Now, in the video I stated that I didn't like them particularly, the figures, because they were very different in style from the Paul Hicks sculpted earlier Warlord poles, right? That had been released. And I just didn't think that the second tranche of poles was as good as the first. The style was just different, not to my taste. And I got some thumbs down for that on the video. I think somebody complained and I just deleted the comment. I mean, you have the right to say what you want, but at the end, if you write nasty things on the channel, I will just delete your comment. It's fine. I don't, I'm not precious about it. Again, this is about community for me, and if people want to be nasty, then they can go somewhere else. But anyway, so there was this video I made, and it got a negative comment because somebody was like, "Oh well, just because you don't like the style doesn't mean that no one else can like it, and these are perfectly fine figures." And again, that wasn't my point. My point wasn't they were terrible figures, you should melt them down and throw them away. My point was that having bought them and painted them, I did not like them as much as the first set of miniatures. And my point, to me, that it's important that people understand that just because you're buying your figures from Warlord Games, it doesn't mean that they're all the same, right, in terms of the style, etc., and the proportions even. So it's been interesting over the last 10 years with YouTube, and I think my channel has evolved away from doing that sort of unboxing type thing and more towards a sort of hobby update and some thoughts and that kind of thing, a bit of a chat and here and there over time. And it's because I just don't really want the drama of giving a review, or I'll give you my opinion by all means, but I just certainly don't want to position my videos as being somehow authoritative, so people will come and look at my channel and be like, "Oh wow, this guy gives the review on this box from Warlord Games." Again, I made those videos because they just didn't exist at the time, so I thought I was doing a public service. So apparently some people don't appreciate that public service, and that's fine. Not everybody likes the same things or likes people's thoughts on stuff. Maybe they wanted a more neutral take on it. Here's what it is, make up your own mind. They're in the wrong place if they want that, because I'm not that person. So anyway, I just wanted to say to Ralph, I know you said that the number of channels that you feel like you're worth watching is diminishing. I feel the same way. I think I probably count on two hands at this point the number of channels that I'm actually invested in watching. Like, no matter what they release, I'll just watch it. And the number keeps declining over time. Now, I'm sure over time we will then also find the odd channel here and there that takes up one of those coveted spaces in our mental space. But yeah, I also think it's a passing of an age. I think we've come to an age of, content creators and influencers and that kind of thing. And as I've said in the past, it feels like everything has to be monetized these days. And the monetization of everything has turned it into, well, not turned it into, but has certainly cheapened it in my mind. So anyway, I will leave it at that, and I will wish you all a good evening, or morning, or afternoon, wherever you are, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care.